Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett joins us now on National Report. Congressman, welcome. Thanks for joining us this Monday morning. You wouldn't often find a drag show at this time, so we're not competing with that. But just to be clear, are drag shows banned in the state of Tennessee?
Apparently they are now, ma'am. I think it's appropriate, though, that they do. I don't think it's appropriate that a grown man dresses up as a woman and rubs his crotch in front of a small child. I don't find that appropriate in any shape, form, or fashion, and in a public venue especially. We used to have a show here in Knoxville. They locked down one of the streets, and this group kind of took it over, and then they had a drag show, and then all the people that I knew that supported it, they quit doing it, and now they don't even have that. They don't even have that open street festival anymore because of that. So I think it's appropriate. The legislature saw it as a problem. These folks are grooming these kids, and it's just not appropriate at all.
And of course,
if you want to do it, go do it in your own home. Just don't do it in front of me at some restaurant or my kid.
And the law would be different for private venues, right?
Yes, ma'am. From what I understand, yes, ma'am.
All right. And that's the concern, right? We've heard from lawmakers and parents who've spoken out about these drag performances where children, minors, can attend and would be exposed to this sort of performance that might not be appropriate for families or folks of that age. All right. That's big news coming out of Tennessee. Some big news we're watching nationwide, of course, has to do with the COVID origins. Can you believe we're still talking about it now 3 years later, learning more perhaps about what was discussed initially about where COVID came from. New bombshell emails appear to show Dr. Anthony Fauci had some sort of tie to a scientific paper back in February 2020 that would disprove the COVID lab leak theory, whether he was directly linked or at least promoted it. He spoke to it. He referenced it at White House press briefings. So, sir, what does this tell you about maybe the lack of openness that Fauci would have had to the ideas of where COVID could have come from? He seemed pretty convinced that it occurred naturally.
Well, I think it goes to show that my friend Rand Paul has been right all along, that this has been something that they knew about, that it was released from this lab. Whether they did it intentionally or not, it really doesn't matter at this point. And literally, members of the liberal media received Pulitzer Prizes for their reporting on this. And that and now it's just a complete falsehood. Our ruling class and the liberal media has once again led us astray, and now it's so far back they're not even going to admit to their mistake, and they're not going to go back on what they said. But it also shows that our government is completely compromised by the Chinese, whether it be in our leadership at the White House or possibly even in our military and definitely in Congress. The communist Chinese tentacles are everywhere. And they're controlling the narrative on this thing when it's very apparent that where it's come from, and it's been apparent since day one, actually.
There's a new select committee. It's bipartisan that's going to look into the threat of China. Do you believe that that committee, based on what you said, the infiltration of the CCP in Congress would be able to actively combat the Chinese threat?
I don't know. I have a member of our own intelligence committee that apparently had a relationship with a Chinese spy. You've had a U.S. senator whose driver was a communist Chinese spy. So it's very difficult of what we'll get. I think the public already realizes what's going on. You got to realize the Chinese, they have no moral ground. The communist Chinese don't have any moral ground to stand on. They once contemplated dropping a nuclear bomb on their own people just to find out what it would do. They have no concept of morality of their people, the ruling class. You have a ruling class and then you have a poverty class, and there's really hardly any in between. And apparently they've sank their tentacles into this country, and it is very deep. You go into our colleges and campuses, our places of higher research and other things, they're compromised. And and our White House is compromised due to the fact that the president's son has had multiple trips to China and multiple business dealings paid by communist Chinese organizations. And now with TikTok, the noose is tightening up around America's neck, and we need to wake up.
Yeah, there's been a lot of concerns about TikTok and, of course, how many Americans' phones it's on right now. A lot of interesting points you make. We'd have to follow up on all of those. Congressman Tim Burchett, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, ma'am.
You got it.